Yes, we are live now.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. A trailblazer, a think tank, a heterodox, a telecom strategist, a cerebral power shovel who's engineering and designing the future, a rare intellectual acrobat who walks the tightrope between convention and iconoclasm with the celerity of a trooper. Sam, you're among the vanguard of brilliant policymakers and a champion of social cause. And you wake us up from a social torpor and urge us to carve a new tomorrow, a better tomorrow, a new world, and a better world. I'm running out of breath and words to throw light on the momentous accomplishments of you, Sam, and your book. You are a distinguished guest today. We welcome you, Sam Pitroda. I would also like to welcome Mr. Dheeraj Shrivastava, Commissioner, Rajasthan Foundation, who's proactive and a visionary bureaucrat par excellence. He's gifted with multifaceted talent and a patriot who has truly devoted his entire life for the state of Rajasthan, or I should say, for the betterment of our entire nation. Dheeraj, over to you now.
Thank you so much, Jaishiji. It's a real pleasure, very, very heartening. And I am really delighted and very honored to have been sharing this platform with personality like Sam Pitroda and an educationist like Jayashree Periwal moderating this session. It is a wonderful trio. And I would like to add that as we all know, Sam Pitroda was also, just in addition to what you mentioned, Sam Pitroda is also one of the key players in framing the Right to Education Act, which we have today before us. So this book about which we will be listening to Sam in a short while is not an idealist vision, what I could see. It is one with the humanity at its core. And it's about reshaping the world to meet the future challenges of our planet and our people. You have highlighted that the future is not only about the national pride, business, markets, religion, or race, but it is about the climate change and human development. Global leaders need to recognize that the future belongs to globalists and not nationalists. It is about global peace and prosperity for all. Thank you for this opportunity, Jayashree. And before going deeper into the book, I want to get our readers and audience closer to you. The person, the living legend, Sam Pitroda. Sir, the world knows you as an telecom inventor, entrepreneur, development thinker, policy maker, a great human being, and much more. But I have known you personally for over a decade now. I wish to highlight your greatness from the perspective of your personal journey. There was a young man from Titilagarh, Orissa, buoyed by nothing but dreams, who boards a boat to America in 1964. There, in the land of opportunity, Satyanarayan Ganga Ram Pitroda makes it big in the burgeoning tech space to become the American millionaire called Sam Pitroda, who we see today. You were that Pravasi we know who left everything to come back to serve the nation and support the vision of our late Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. India was greatly benefited by two NRIs, I can say. Mahatma Gandhi, who came from South Africa and led the freedom movement. Pitroda came from the US, initiated the technology revolution, and became the father of technological revolution in India. He developed world-class infrastructure in telecommunications and introduced Make in India concept much in early 80s. He worked keeping poor of India in focus for the development. His love for India and his keen desire to contribute to his motherland, India's development, brings out a true sense of his patriotism. You have only used your immense wealth of wisdom and experience to again make a bigger dent on the world. And now it is this book, Redesign the World. So, with this few words on your personal life, and we await the next course. Over to you, Jayshree.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Sam, this one goes out for you. We've had democratization of technology and interconnected world for years. But are we really one world? How can we give up our nationalist agenda to embrace the global one as suggested in your book? Take the case of USA, where the previous president won on a mandate of America first. Are world leaders really ready to give up their powers to a system of organization that you talk about? In this respect, is the European Union a vanguard to the revolution you espouse? Haven't they made the organizational architecture bigger than individual personalities? Do enlighten us through your book, Redesign the World.
Thank you, Dr. Jayshree Pariwal, Mr. Dheeraj Srivastava, and my friend Romit. Greetings from Chicago. Thank you for very generous introduction. I don't think I deserve all that glorified introduction, but I'm also a normal human being, and I love to hear good things from good people. So thank you. I'm delighted to see so many different people from so many different countries. I'm very impressed with what you all have been able to put together on a very short notice. I see someone from Egypt. I saw someone from Uganda. And thank you all for taking time out from your busy schedule to come listen to me. I'm going to take briefly about maybe 15 minutes, if Jayshree allows me, to really introduce the book and then open up for a broader conversation. Before I talk about my book, I also want to request those who are in different countries like Egypt and Uganda and others, please help us, help me take this message to your part of the world. This book is not about India. This book is about world. I have reasonably good presence in India and in US, but I have no presence in Egypt. I have lots of friends there. I have no presence in Uganda, but I still have lots of friends there. So I need your help in taking this message to your part of the world. So if you can organize a similar conversation with people in Egypt, people in Uganda, people somewhere else, I would be delighted and I would be thankful to you. With this, let me tell you about the book. During Corona crisis, I was locked up in my house in Chicago. My last travel was on March 2nd, 2020. I went to Kansas City, and then we were all in lockdown. So after a couple of weeks, I realized that this lockdown is going to go on for at least 6 to 9 months. And I must use this time effectively. I had this idea of writing a book on the impact of hyperconnectivity on this world. Because I have spent 55 years of my life on connectivity, whether it is connectivity in India through STD, PCOs and indigenous development, or privatizing telecom in Africa. I did a lot of that in 90s. In all of Africa, I traveled all over. I worked with all the governments. or in America, where I did a lot of patent work and all. My journey has been all about connectivity. And it is by accident. It just happened because I got a job in telecom. When I graduated from college in America, Vietnam War was the main agenda. And anybody who graduated with a degree in electrical engineering got a job in defense. So I also got a job in defense. But my Gandhian values told me I'm not going to work in defense. Salary was huge. But I said, there is no way I can spend my life designing equipment to kill somebody. So I decided to reject that job and started looking for a lower paying job. And I found a job in telecom. That's how I got into telecom. And then I realized the power of telecom. I said, connectivity is at the core of human civilization. If we don't connect, life is not worth living. We got to meet with people. Connectivity is all about community. So when I started mapping my own life and the journey of connectivity, I realized that everything around us is changing because of hyperconnectivity. Everything. Everything we do today is basically obsolete. The way we educate, the way we learn, the way we manage our health, our community, our relationships. Like I have grandkids in California. I haven't seen them for 18 months. But my grandson, who is 5-year-old, talks to me 3 times a day. Before going to school, after coming from school, and before going to bed. It's a different kind of relationship I have developed with him because of hyperconnectivity. Hyperconnectivity is changing our governance. Vertical silos don't make sense anymore. We need horizontal architecture. So when I started looking at hyperconnectivity and its impact on our civilization, I realized that here is a global opportunity to take our human civilization to the next level if we redesign our world. Our world was last designed at the time I was born in 1942. That design was led by the US during World War II, which gave birth to UN, World Bank, IMF, NATO, WTO, WHO, GDP, GNP, and created rule-based system that the entire world follows. That design was predominantly based on democracy, human rights, capitalism, consumption, and military. Then world was bipolar. You had Soviet Union and you had US. One was democratic value, another one was more like communist, dictatorial, and there are different sets of parameters to operate. And world followed these two paths. This design is now 75 years old. We have not created one major global institution in the last 75 years to talk about. We live with that. Everybody follows that. If you have high GDP, you are very good. If you have low GDP, you are bad. And I felt that hyperconnectivity needs new thinking. And Corona crisis really brought that into focus. Corona crisis tells us that everything is interconnected. Everything is interdependent, interrelated, interconnected. What happens in one little part of world has impact on humanity at large. No one ever thought that one small virus from little middle of nowhere will put entire world to halt. So when I started thinking about all of this, I realized that at the end of the day, there are only 2 things that matter. One, planet. Planet doesn't need people. People need planet. So we must take care of our planet, which imply fresh air to breathe, clean water to drink, rivers, ocean, mountains, forest, birds, bees, animals, and people. And second most important thing is to take care of people. When I was born, there were 2 billion people. Now there are 8 billion people. What does it mean to treat people with dignity, respect, irrespective of their background, what they look like, what they believe in, what their color is, what their religion is? They are all human beings. They are all same. How do you invoke that feeling in people that we are all same? Gender equality is just one issue. Race is another issue. Religion is third issue. Why do we divide people based on all these different categories? So that led me to think more and more about the redesign of the world. Then I also realized that 7 big things happened in the last 75 years. First, Mahatma Gandhi led independence movement in India, decolonized the entire world in 25 years. No one had ever thought that the entire world will get decolonized instantly at the time of the design. Then came rise of China. Because when design was perceived, India was a colony, China did not matter, Africa was ignored. So design was really created by a handful of 4 or 5 countries. I saw this recent conference of G7, and then you ask question, does G7 really mean anything in this world where India and China have the power we have today with population, young people, and the way Africa is expanding? Do we need G20? So these are the kind of questions I have been asking. So decolonization, rise of China, fall of Soviet Union, fall of Berlin Wall, rise of technology. Technology has become pervasive. When I came to America in 1964, I had never used telephone in my life. I was too poor to have telephone. And somebody who had telephone, he was too rich to be my friend. So there was no need to call anybody. I had never seen television. I had not seen the revolving door, which was an invention to me. I'd never been to 5-star hotel. I'd never heard of hamburger, hot dog, because information was not available. And now, with hyperconnectivity, everything is in front of you. A young person in Bihar can go visit Russia, see London, streets, buildings, museum, art galleries. Look at the power of information. So technology has been democratized, but at the same time, we have created inequality. Very few have become very rich and lots of people have remained poor. There has been discrimination. And finally, COVID-19 and 9/11. So these 7 events tell me that we need to redesign the world. Hyperconnectivity to me imply, 1, connecting everybody all the time from any place. So distance is dead, time is instant. Content, connectivity is not about voice communication. It's about sharing pictures, videos, talks, messages, all at the same time. People to people, people to machine, machine to machine, and finally context. In what context you are sharing that content? In what context you are connecting with somebody? Hyperconnectivity also means democratization of information, decentralization of decision making, and demonetization of services. It allows you to have education at low cost. It allows you to rent a car and not own a car. So transportation is demonetized. Education is going to be demonetized. We will see a society where food would be very cheap because we live in an era of surplus. We can produce anything. We need to decide what is that we want to produce. For whom do we want to produce? Not for people who can afford to buy, but for people who need it. And that led me to think about a new paradigm. That if hyperconnectivity brings about democratization of information, decentralization of decision-making, decentralization of implementation, demonetization of services, we can innovate. We can innovate in education, in governance, in health, in infrastructure. And if we innovate, what kind of a world we want to create? So rather than a revolution, I felt we need an evolution. Last design has done reasonably well in many areas. It has increased number of countries with democracy, though it is under threat right now in some ways, in some countries. It has improved transportation, increased longevity, decreased infant mortality, and lots of good things have happened. But at the same time, there is hunger, environmental blunder, disparity, poverty. So now we need new thinking. So I said, can we take democracy to inclusion? Can we take basic human rights to basic human needs? Capitalism has not worked for everybody. We need new capitalism, which is not based on crony capitalism, disparities, but which is more about equitable distribution. It is not about GDP only, it is about gross environmental product, gross human development product, and many other parameters. Happiness. Money doesn't buy happiness. We all know that. In fact, when I recently heard about Bill Gates filing for divorce, I said, how could something go wrong with that much of wealth? No one ever thought. But wealth doesn't buy happiness. It's very clear. But then the question is, what is happiness? Then consumption is not the answer. We need conservation. We need sustainability. And finally, I hope that as human civilization, we have matured to a point we can settle our differences across table. And we don't need to go run and fire a missile. I mean, what kind of a civilization that just looks at missile to solve differences? We are highly educated. We have all the tools. We have global support. We are democratic everywhere. Why can't we sit across the table and discuss and not say, I have 15 machine tanks and I have 13 missiles? Oh, what kind of barbaric attitude is that? So I felt that we need nonviolence. Unfortunately, all global conversations today are about geopolitical equations, selling military hardware. So when leaders of the countries meet, they only do marketing job. They don't do human development job. They sell their equipment. They worry about trade, economy, because they represent big business. They don't represent people. So how do we bring to attention of the people that we need to change global conversation from markets, money, trade, machine guns to human development? I've never seen two global leaders from two different countries come and say, let's look at your poverty. Nobody talks about that, and we think it is okay. Nobody says, how can we help you on hunger? How can we help you on homeless? How can we help you on improving your forest? How can we help you on getting better drinking water? Nobody talks about that. And we think it is acceptable. It's okay. I don't get it. So that's why I focused on these 5. And at the end, in a manifesto, in the book, I outline what is that we need to do. I'm conscious of the fact that I don't have all the solutions. All I can do is begin new conversation. Somebody could say, I am hopelessly optimistic. Somebody could say, I don't understand business, which is okay. They have that right to criticize. I am committed to redesign the world. I want support from people to speak up because it has to come from bottom up and not top down. Top down has no interest in my design. Top down is milking the system. Why should they change? They are benefiting anyway. So they are all meeting at World Economic Forum, all billionaires, and talking about how to reduce poverty, and nothing happens.
Correct.
So the development has to come from bottom up and not top down. We need voices of the people to be heard and not voices of the political leaders because they have no interest. Because civil society does not play an important role today in the world. It is business and politics. Civil society is on the side. Give them little thing to be busy and keep them out. So we need participant of civil society. We need scientific mindset. We need democratic values. We need new institutions. And we need, for example, if we are concerned about non-violence, why isn't there a global institution on non-violence? Why isn't there a Ministry of Non-Violence as opposed to Ministry of Defense? Why isn't there a Ministry of Wellness? Why do you have Ministry of Trade and Commerce and not a Ministry of Hunger to eliminate hunger? Okay. Why don't we have Ministry of Inclusion? So everything we do today needs to be redefined. And that's why this book, Redesign the World.
Absolutely.
I need your support. I need your help. And I'm thankful to all of you for joining in this conversation. I'm open now for a broader conversation. Thank you.
Sam, there are so many questions that have poured in. I think a lot of people here as audience have read your book on Kindle and they have their thoughts. And you were so brilliant and it was so enlightening to hear. And we have Dheeraj who would want to ask you something.
Please.
Before Jayashree ji starts inviting questions, and we have very eminent people here, I would like to apprise Sam that you mentioned about Egypt and Uganda. I must tell you,
on the screen.
Yeah, I must tell you that more than 52 countries, people from 52 countries are watching you. And we have very limited place on this program. That is why I prefer to call very, very few people because of the time constraint on various hemispheres. Some important guys have been left out, but we will surely organize, as you said, in Africa and other parts.
Please help me connect to global audience, not just India.
You are already connected, sir. It is not only Rajasthan who is watching you now. Through Jayashree Periwal ji, you are already are being watched by so many people, and our Rajasthani diaspora, who is spread across the world, right from Burma to Egypt, and this is one part. And I would like to personally know from you, what was the trigger that made you write this book?
Trigger was Corona crisis. Trigger was time that I had available. Trigger was my wife's support, that I could sit in this office. This is my office at home. And I normally get into this office at 6 or 7 in the morning. I come out at 12 o'clock, cook a little bit of lunch, eat with my wife, and then get back in the office. And I spent 12 hours. And that concentrated time allowed me to read, do little research, focus. And sometimes writing is a very painful thing. You know, the first draft turned out to be 450 pages. And I said, this is boring. Nobody's going to read 450 pages. So let's cut it down. Then the question is, what do you cut? because you like everything you wrote, unfortunately. Okay, so you cut this and you say, oh, I should have cut that. And then it's like putting a puzzle together. There are different pieces to the puzzle, and you're trying to put it together. And that's also a very painful journey. Then you show it to somebody and the fellow says, oh, you didn't include this, you didn't include that. What about this? What about that? And you say, oh my God, now I got to redo it again.
So
I must say that you have rightly earned your dinner tonight. You have rightly appreciated, ma'am.
But that's what it takes to write a book.
Yeah.
And I learned also, I've written other books, but this was the most interesting book because it was not a narrow technical book. And I knew this book could be read by all kinds of people and they will criticize the hell out of it. First of all, they would say, who the hell is this guy to write a book like this? He's not a professor. He's not a politician. He's not well known in the world. He's just a little, engineer guy. How the hell he writes a book like this? He's not at Harvard. He's not a philosopher. He's nobody. So I wrote it not for intellectuals, but for people.
So a question goes out for you, Sam. At the recently concluded G7 summit, topics of discussion included developing a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and climate change. They also included their self-serving international coordination on economic policies. But when one views their discussions against the backdrop of your vision, one can't help thinking that they came up short, like really short. What would you like the agenda for the next G7 summit to be, and how can that be made a reality?
First of all, G7 is not something I would focus on. I would focus on G20 because it is much broader. We need networking of nations. We don't need one nation dictating everybody. So today in the world, you have two visions. You have American vision, which is based on the last design, and you have Chinese vision, which is based on Belt and Road Initiative. I would like G20 to have third vision of the world, which is based on networking, human values, redesign the world. So when leaders meet, they don't talk about what is good for my country. They talk about what is good for planet and what is good for people. They talk about humanity. And don't say, oh, I need more business from you. I'm going to sell you more machines. I'm going to sell you more aeroplanes. Come on. Get off this narrow view of the world.
Correct.
Don't be petty.
Correct.
Rise above. But it's difficult. It's easy to say. These people say, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
To tell us. That's why I need help in taking this message to other countries.
Yeah. Sam, Amartya Sen, he gave us the concept of a more humane society in development as freedom in 1990. And then Thomas Friedman told us about the world being flat in 2005. In what ways do you agree or you kind of disagree with their perspectives? How can your call to action to redesign the world feed off their concepts? And how is it different from them?
See, we all look at world from our own set of glasses, our own experiences. I agree with Amartya Sen more so than I agree with somebody else. Okay. Amartya Sen does have soul, which is concerned more about people at the bottom of the economic pyramid. It is that soul I'm looking for. I'm not looking for trade by flattening the world. I'm looking for the soul of the people. And I sense in Amartya Sen's writings that the soul is intact. Okay. I've read, not that I'm qualified to understand all the things he says, but I've read a lot of his stuff and I love him. He's a very wise man. He has a lot to offer to the world. But then people write him off saying, oh, he's an economist. I don't want any label. Okay. I want only one label, humanist. Okay. Jayashree, you are muted.
Sam,
Yes.
we have lots of questions, but I'm going to ask one more before I take in the questions from the audience. Most of mankind historically has been very religious. And as you've rightly said, power likes to hide behind religion. Ensuring a meeting ground of different faiths is probably the most challenging task before us today. How are we going to replace faith with reason when such a large section of mankind is illiterate and lacks the basic necessities? So there is no education. So how do we go about overcoming this challenge?
I think we have to educate people about the importance of earth and importance of being human being. Irrespective of what religion you follow, you are a human being. A child is a child. If I see somebody in an accident and child is bleeding, I'm not going to ask child, what is your religion? What is your race? What is your nationality? Because that's human. Irrespective of who that person is, I can assure you, any human being will lift that child and help because I have faith in humanity. So I think we need to change our emphasis from nation and religion to humanity and planet. If we can do that, I respect your religion. I have nothing against it. I respect for who you are. Okay, in my family, there are different people. Everybody is different. This world is a story of 8 billion people. There are 8 billion stories. Celebrate them. Don't try to be
Correct.
like. Okay.
Correct.
So I would say all the religions, fine, you have your religion, respect it, keep it. Okay.
Yes.
But don't fight with my religion. I won't fight with your religion. But can we both have a nice conversation when we meet? Can we both have a cup of coffee when we meet? Can we talk about our children? Can we talk about our planet? Can we talk about our freedom? That's what we want.
Lovely. So, inclusion, it is the need of the hour, and you've so eruditely brought out. Gandhiji spoke about decades back about exactly what you're saying. So it's very heartening. Can we have Mr. Atul Kapoor unmute and ask a question?
Yeah.
Followed
Hi,
by
Sam.
Rohit Purohit.
My question is on education.
Yes, sir.
In a country like India, we can't even agree on a single educational board amongst us. We have so many state boards. You've got CBSE, you've got ICSC, you've got IB, and the international curricula now coming in. Now, one way of beginning this whole journey is to unite the world on education, because if the young generation of tomorrow believes in this vision that you're talking about, that's how it can get transmitted. So how do we make this concerted effort to get on one uniform global educational platform?
Very good question. I think education today is obsolete everywhere. Okay, let me start by saying that. Because I start by saying everything we do today is obsolete and then build on it. That doesn't mean everything we do today is obsolete. Understand the difference. I like contradictions. It's okay to live in contradictions. So assume that everything in the education is obsolete. I want to ask a question. Who decided it should take 4 years to get a degree? Why should I follow that? The whole world takes 4 years to get a degree. Come on, give me a break. Why should I get a certificate when I exit? I want to get a certificate when I enter. So when I look at this, I realize that there are only 3 important things in education. Motivation. Am I motivated to learn something I want to learn? If I'm not motivated, Why go to school? 2, do I have time that I'm willing to devote to learn something that I need to learn? If I want to learn how to make red wine, I need to spend time. If I want to learn how to make, flying machine, I need to spend time. 3rd, content. Fortunately, today, content is available on internet from best of the best in the world. Do I have the desire to learn? If so, I need to be trained to be a self-learner. So train me to be a self-learner when I'm young. And by the time I'm 12 or 15, leave me alone. Don't tell me to go to college. Don't tell me to take these 4 courses and 13 things that some 70-year-old has designed, because they don't know what I want as a young man. Okay.
Correct.
Give me the freedom to decide what I want to learn. Let me make my mistakes. Okay.
Yeah.
But please make me self-learner. So I
Lovely.
would tell Jayasrees of the world, make me self-learner.
Lovely.
Teach me how to motivate myself. Be my mentor. Don't be my teacher. I don't want teacher. I have lots of teacher on internet, but I have no mentor. So be my mentor. Hug me, love me, comfort me, guide me, direct me, improve my self-esteem, help me in improving my self-esteem, teach me people skill. And by the time I'm 15, 12, 17, whatever we decide, let me fly. But make me self-learner. I'm learning every day. I'm 79 years old and I know how little I know about this world.
Yeah.
There is so
Lovely.
much to learn that
Right.
learning is a lifelong journey. Okay.
Lovely.
And
Can we
I
have-
want education not to be structured to standardize, uniform and all that. No, that's bogus. Make me self-learner.
No. Can we have Romit Purohit unmute, please?
Yeah,
Sam, you're so brilliant.
Sam has always been brilliant. He's my guru. Hi, Sam. It's nice to have you.
Hi, Romit. How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you, Romit, for organizing this. I know you are the architect of this.
No, it's the people of India.
Thank you.
So my question is, we always talk about, the book talks about sustainability. And we have had these conversations before also about sustainability. And it talks about people, profit, society, environment. Do you think somewhere down the line, in today's practices that we have across the globe, the governments are totally ignoring the fact that we need to have a framework for agility, inclusivity, and resilience? And why I say that is, when we talk about sustainability, we often tend to forget the reality of focusing on the mortality and the morbidity of the human mind and people. So that's why. So my question is very simple, that we have so many leaders here across from the industry of education, from politics, from bureaucrats. Should we have something within the system of India or in the entire world, a dedicated department or a ministry that talks about being agile, being resilient, and inclusive?
Okay, your question has 2 main elements. 1, leadership, and 2, organizational architecture.
Yeah.
Today, there is a crisis of leadership in the world. Like Jayasree said, G7 people talked about what is good for America, what is good for Russia, what is good for EU. Okay, global leaders have to talk about global issues, not national issues. You don't go to global platform to discuss national issues and negotiate what you want. Okay. So there is a crisis of global leadership. Leadership that is more like Gandhi, Mandela, Martin Luther King. That kind of leadership doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is selfless, which is not pushing any business lobby or propaganda or markets or selling military equipment, but it is saying, hey, wait a minute. On global platform, what is good for the world? In the process, I may have to sacrifice something. I will convince my people when I go home that I had to sacrifice for a larger public good. So you don't have those kinds of global leaders anymore. Second, organizational architecture. The organizational architectures of all our institutions don't reflect the need of the
Absolutely.
hyper-connected world. All organizational architectures are in vertical silos. Ministry of Health is a ministry of sickness. It is not ministry of wellness. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ministry of Defense is a ministry of war. They are ready with the gun. They want to fight. Okay. Do we really need Ministry of Shipping? I mean, what kind of a system is that? Okay. So I think our whole organizational architecture is in vertical silos, command and control, and not collaboration, cooperation, coordination, communication, and co-creation.
Absolutely lovely.
It's very simple, because hyperconnectivity requires you to collaborate, cooperate, co-create, communicate. They want command and control. I'm the boss. I know exactly what to do, and I'm going to tell you what to do. Come on, respect me. Okay. I don't take orders from anybody. I don't have to.
Yeah, even if you look into the healthcare, where you have the
Everywhere.
insurance parameters.
It
the
is
lower-
a ministry of sickness, because they say, oh, we got so many beds. We got so many hospitals. Okay. I mean, you build a ministry of sickness. It is not ministry of wellness.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sam. So much of
Nobody
sense.
thinks like that. You see,
Yeah.
it is dumb that nobody tells me I should eat properly, I should exercise, I should not smoke, I should, not increase weight or whatever wellness thing is.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you an example. My mother delivered 8 children in a small little tribal village in Orissa. All 8 were delivered at home. No doctor, no nurse, no medicine, no pharmacy in town. All 8 out of 8 turned out to be mentally healthy, physically healthy. She must have done something right. 0 cost of delivery. We have forgotten all that. Okay, today, delivery is $10,000. Okay. I know that she would put something in the ear, something in the nose, and everything would be great. Okay. I never went to dentist till I was 45-year-old in my life. Now I have to send 5-year-old guy to dentist. Okay.
True, so true.
Yeah.
So
Sam.
where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
If my mother can deliver 8 children at home, why can't other people do it? 0 cost of delivery. Okay.
Correct.
Fine. But we have
Then-
created this ministry of sickness.
Hmm.
And we are going to tell you are sick before you start. Okay.
Sam, I have a lot many more questions coming up. There's so many. Can we have Manisha Razdan unmute, followed by Deepti Kataria? And to add on till Manisha Razdan unmutes, that we are 7 of us and we were also all born at home without any hospital.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let me,
Yeah, ma'am.
yes.
Hi, Sam. Yeah, I
Hi,
think
Nisha.
we need to go back to those values. And in your dreaming big, you do talk at length about the kind of, idyllic scenario that you had, 8 kids, and you call it, I think, chaotic circus or circus of chaos when you were all sleeping on mats. But in your Redesign the World, you're also saying something that caught my eye and probably made me think. You said that our business schools are teaching to extract value and not to create value. So is the new redesigned world going to be more aesthetic than capitalistic, or are we going to rise above these binaries?
We have to rise above these binaries. We have to. Okay. But I think
Very
you caught on a very important point.
Very,
because
very
there are
relevant.
little things like this in the book. There are lots of little things that business schools teach us how to extract value and not how to create value. Now, that's an important observation. It needs a total different 2-hour conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So before Deepti Kataria ji unmutes herself, I must tell Sam that she is a professor in mathematics in
Great.
Egypt, and
Wow.
she can speak on temple, and she has a variety of what all she can do, I cannot describe in this little time. You have to meet in person.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Deepti ji.
Namaste. Thank you very much. That was very humbling.
Thank
Pleasure
What are you
listening
doing
to
in
you.
Egypt? What are you doing in Egypt?
I'm professor of physics, actually. I'm also an electrical engineer.
Wow, wow, congratulations.
Actually, you gave me hope that even I can sometime write a book. Jokes
You should
aside.
look. Anybody who studied physics has to be a special person. Physics and math are the two subjects that require a different kind of discipline. It gives you different orientation. So my respect for you goes up substantially, the fact that you are a physics major. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, after listening to you, I really hope and wish there was a reset button, which we could just trigger it, and everything starts fresh. Actually, listening to you gave me the experience of transcendence. You talked about compete to complete. I read the book, Exclusion to Inclusion and Markets to Human Department and everything. I want to talk about the foreign policies of India. India has always favored and talked about, the cultural diplomacy, which is not, which actually contextualize we in global goods. It starts from our Vedic literature when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam or Sarve Sukhina Bhavantu. In 1893, Vivekananda and even Rajiv Gandhi talked about First World, Second World. He actually opposed. My question goes that the foreign policy, should they continue? We have been, following it. Should the foreign policy continue with this? You yourself said the global leaders do not talk about bringing together. They talk about the markets, the business, the military operation. Should India continue to go further with the policy they have, which is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam or Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, or should we go for the nation first? And I have one more question, which is coming from my daughter. She's saying that this pandemic was a time to despair. It was a COVID-19, very difficult time. This writing a book moved you from despair, or because of despair, you wrote a book? Thank you very much.
Let's take the first question first. I believe all foreign policies should be geared towards two fundamental issues: planet and people. And that's it. Underneath those two, everything else should fall. It is not about fighting with anybody. It's not about taking somebody's market. It's not about selling something to somebody. It's not about promoting one idea versus another, one religion versus another. It's not about enemy at the border. It is about what kind of a world we want to build together. That's what foreign policy is all about. Okay. Second question, it wasn't about despair or anything. I'm always very happy. I have no issues at all. I'm very content. I'm very blessed. I have a wonderful wife. Been married to her for 55 years. She was my girlfriend. I fell in love with her when I was 19, 20-year-old. And, I have wonderful 2 children. I have great friends. I have no complaints. I have nothing that I think in my life that I feel sorry about. Both of my parents died in my house here. My father-in-law lived with us. He died at 103 in US. All my brothers and sisters are in US. After I came here, we got one by one everybody. And we escaped poverty in India. And we all studied and we all did well and everybody's okay. And what else you can ask for in life? My God, you have everything you want. And what do you want more? I don't want anything more. I want to get rid of things. I have too many things accumulated over a period of time. Okay. I didn't realize I was buying so many things. Okay. So that's one thing that happened during Corona crisis. I looked around and said, my God, why do I have all these things in the house? Why do I have so many suits and so many ties and so many shirts, so many shoes? I need to get rid of it. I've been crazy that I got trapped in this consumption culture. Do I really need 4 cars? No. So it was a time to reflect. And it was a pretty good time to reflect. Okay. So I don't think it was about despair or anything. It was just a journey, part of the journey. I accepted that we are locked up.
Thanks, Sam. We have 2 more questions coming up. Can we ask Manju Khosla followed by Divyansh Lalwani? Manju Khosla?
Yeah. Sam, your book aptly mentions that there are many people out there with varied expertise and experience and differing views on what the world needs. What role can convergent thinking play to bring each one of them on the common platform?
See, I talk about domain experts because I believe domain experts have much bigger role to play than we are playing. When I look at India's development from my perspective, and I'm biased, okay, so start with that. I see 5 major developments in India because of scientific mindset and political will. 1, atomic energy, Baba and Nehru. 2, Green Revolution, Swaminathans, Randhawa, Dr. Rao, and few others, and Mrs. Gandhi. Then you have space, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai and Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Then you have White Revolution by Kurian, and then you have telecom revolution. In all of these 5, you had a domain expert who had broader capabilities to communicate, excite, leadership, team building, all that,
Right.
and had political will. If you didn't have the political will, domain expertise no good. If you had political will and you had no domain expertise, nothing will happen. So it is that combination of political will and domain expertise. So we need domain experts to come together and get political will. Nobody is going to give you political will. You have to get it.
So with
So I
Dheeraj
want domain
consent,
experts of the world to come together and get political will to get things done. Then things will happen.
Dheeraj, with your consent, 1 more question coming from a young boy, Divyansh Lalwani. Can we have you unmute?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, sir. Your words on this conversation is like words of gold for me because as a young boy, I think when I talk to my parents about the arbitrariness of college being 4 years, they squint at me and look at me like I'm sort of crazy because it's just set in stone, right? And your talk has actually motivated me to reconsider a lot of things I set in stone. But my question to you is, and all of us are fully aware about the boons, the advantages that the technological revolution and I don't know what all revolutions have come with. But this increased connectivity and the opportunities that came, they came at an expense of compromised privacy, a destabilized job market. So how do you think that people from all domains, from policymakers to the common consumers, can help in solving these problems that we ourselves have given birth to?
Okay, let's first talk about your first comment. I tell a lot of young people, there are 2 groups of people you should never listen to. And pardon me for saying it. 1, your parents. They are obsolete. Just love them. Let them love you. Talk to them, but don't let them interfere in your journey. Because their journey is 30 years, 20 years older than yours. So they see world through old pair of glasses. You want to see world with new pair of glasses. Second is teacher. Don't listen to teacher at all. They are also obsolete. Okay. They have nothing to add. But make sure that your teachers become your mentors. Love them, talk to them, hug them, meet with them. Don't take their advice. They have no idea. Okay. Having
But
said
Sam,
that,
we have.
Hold on, but let me finish. Having said that,
Yeah,
going
sorry.
to the second question, and then we come to that. And don't take this too seriously also. Okay. But having said that, I would say, whenever there is new technology, you create new jobs. When you create new jobs, you replace old jobs. So that's a way of life. Don't get too worried. Don't get too scared. When we started reservation of Indian Railways, we had a lot of resistance from people saying, oh, you are eliminating jobs for, people who do the ticketing and all that. And they went on strikes, all kinds of resistance. If we had listened to them today, or then, today you won't have railway reservation. So every new technology brings churning of jobs, whether it was sewing machine, automatic dialing, robotics, machine tools, whatever. So just accept that. You will create new jobs and you will increase jobs. Okay. There was another item you mentioned. What was it? I lost track of. One was job.
He's on mute, I think. So
Okay.
Dheeraj, you were to say something to us.
No, I just wanted to add that we have people, we have a combo, parent and teachers in form of Jayashree Perivals, who wear 2 glasses. One is she can wear a photochromatic glass also whenever required. So we have a good combo in today's parent who are mentors as well.
All parents can do, I tell you, is love their children. Comfort them, hold them tight and say, make a mistake, I'm always there.
Yeah. If you don't fall, you haven't.
I have 2 great kids. I tell you, I have a son who went to MIT, went to Harvard MBA. I have a daughter who went to Michigan, went to London Business School and makes movies in Hollywood. And they're great kids. Just leave them alone. They have different journey. They don't have to agree with me. I don't want them to be like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
At times I want, but I hold it. Okay. And saying, look, their journey is very different than mine because my father's journey was very different than mine. Each one of us have our own journey. Support each other, love them, tell them, whenever you want, I'm always there for you. Be assured.
What lovely thought.
100%. That's
Sam,
it.
beautiful thoughts. And it's 8:11. I have 50 more questions and we can only request Dheeraj ji to do another session for Jaipur, for the world. I have people from Egypt, Uganda, Dubai, and they've been constantly on the chats.
My inbox is flooded. Please let me in. मैंने कहा साहब 200, we are already more than 150 on the Zoom.
Thank you very much. But I would like the professor from
Please
Egypt.
connect again. These
I
are
would like the professor from Egypt to organize a meeting in Egypt.
Definitely.
I'm very interested.
So, Jayashree ji, you can complete the list which we have. We have eminent NRIs. SP Singh, I can see from Switzerland.
Yes.
Mr. Dinesh Kothari ji from Dubai. He's a very renowned educationist like you in Dubai. He has created a revolution there.
So, Rajesh Chapter from Uganda.
Rajesh
Nikita Agarwal, Rashmi Kumar. There are so many.
Please. Thank you.
So we can always, with folded hands, request Rajasthan Foundation, headed by our dynamic, absolutely brilliant Dheeraj. जिसमें बहुत patience है. He has Dheeraj bhi hai, patience hai. And I'm sure he's going to do one more session for all of us. So that we will do.
But let us invite Mr. Dinesh Kothari from Dubai. If we can have your suggestion, he may be able to give.
We can have SP Singh also.
Yeah,
I can go on for another 10 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so we can have
quickly.
I'm all yours. I'm all yours.
Thank you.
Kothari Sahib, how are you?
Good evening, Dr. Pitroda. It's the second time that I have the pleasure of being on Zoom with you. And we must thank Dheeraj for and Romit, who is a colleague and a friend in Dubai. I heard you. I'll be very honest. Number one, I have not read the book as yet, but I'm going to read now. I love reading, so I'm going to read it now. I heard you on how you explained the book, and I had a question before start of the session. Who are the people who will make the difference? Who are the people who will take the initiative to make the change and redesign the world, you answered it and you said it has to be bottoms up, not top down. People from bottom have to make the change, and they are the ones who have to redesign the world. Now, the question is, out of 7-8 billion people in the world, 4 billion are poor. They don't get 2 square meals a day. They don't have clean water. When a father sees his child dying of hunger, or a son sees his father dying for lack of medicines or health care, is he really interested, or does he have the capability to redesign anything? His immediate priority is to get a meal for his child, to get medicine for his father. Therefore, it has to be people at the top who have resources. Now, it is a different view, and I really thought of this question as I was listening to you. It has to be people who have resources to make the difference. We have to make them empathetic, not sympathetic. They should have heart to give. And
yeah, but that's why when I say people at the bottom, I'm talking about people like you and me. We are not at the top. Top are the billionaires and politicians.
Right, right.
Ignore people who are not even ready to, find their meal, poor people. So what voice they have? But we have to stand for them. Okay?
So there has to be a movement of awareness.
Exactly. Of people like us.
Yeah.
When I say people at the bottom, I mean people like us. We have no power.
Oh, we are in the middle. Yeah, we can be the change maker.
But we have to be.
But we are the people who can bring the change.
Yeah.
Because we represent people. We are concerned about people. We have empathy. We have no empathy. If I have $5 billion, I have no empathy with poor. Okay.
Second question that I have was the difference between globalist and nationalist. Because if I am not a nationalist, then how do I care for what I belong to? As you said about your parents, your family, your children, it starts from the nation.
No, it starts from community. It starts from community.
From family.
It starts with community,
It
right?
starts with community. First is yourself, then is your family, then is your relatives, then is your community, then your town, then your district, then your state, then your nation, and then your world.
So I have
but
to
when I say globalist, I mean, don't just look at what is good for India. Look at what is good for humanity. That's what I mean. And it's okay to be nationalist and globalist at the same time.
Okay.
Because there are issues on which there are issues on which
contradictory.
There are issues on which you have to be globalist. If India says I'm going to burn all the jungles, okay, of the neighboring countries, not allowed. Okay. I will oppose that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we have SP Singh unmute and ask a question from Sam Pitroda, please?
Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. And it's really a pleasure to meeting Dr. Sam, and thank you, Dheeraj, for opportunity. I'm just going to follow up with Manisha ji and Divyansh question. There was really interesting question regarding the whom we should listen, because 3 years ago, I was a student. I didn't listen to my parents, not going to army, and came to Swiss to do the hospitality. I'm just asking a really harsh fact in the society right now that an 18-year-old student going to a bank and asking for 10K loan for doing a business, but it's not possible. But the same kid is going to the bank and asking for 100K loan for education. It's possible. Do you think this will be rechanging in the new world? What you're thinking, the redesigning the world and everything?
Of course it should change. Of course it should change. But education system is structured in such a way that they can bank on it. The risk with education system is less, and risk with you as an individual is high. So it's basically risk assessment. Okay, that should change. Okay, somebody should.
I have two more young children who are very keen to ask you. Can we unmute Dhruv and Nikhil? Dhruv?
Nikhil Mehta. Nikhil Mehta from US. And I must tell you, Sam, with a personality like Jayashree Periwal on the screen, you will have a flood of youngsters around us, because she is the one who has revolutionized education.
I have to make sure that Jayashree is on my side. I have to work on it.
And institution is like a factory. You name, I have to go to Harvard. Okay, you go. You be in touch with this fellow. I have to go to film industry. You be in touch. So
the other thing is, I don't have all the answers. Please, let's understand. I do not have all the answers.
Obviously.
Correct.
I speak up. I speak my mind.
Yeah.
Hey, many times I make mistakes. I'm okay in making mistakes. But I will not hold and manipulate information and
So these are our last two questions.
I just like to say what I want to say, and it's okay for me to be wrong. Please assume that.
Yeah. So Dhruv and Nikhil, whoever is able to unmute first, may please come on board.
Yes.
Good evening, Sam sir and Jashi ma'am.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
Okay. So, sir, as we know, you've come from a telecom background and you've done electrical engineering. So, sir, I'm sure you'll understand the technicalities that I'm about to mention in my question. So my question is related to, in today's times, when we mention progress, when we mention a development of a nation, we also talk about the technological advances and the technological developments that come within the country. And especially when I talk about the telecom sector, it is not only just harming the environment, but also our mental state. So when we talk about this development, it is also enabling us to be better. It is called development, but at the same time, sir, it is also harming the environment and our mental health. So it's not, I was hoping that in the book or maybe in this session that we have with you, we could find the alternative of this so-called development that we're talking about over here. Something that is actually in its real sense called development.
You see, if you are referring to 5G, 4G and harming your brain, it's all bogus. Okay, so let's keep that on side. Okay. Technology is a tool. It depends on how you want to use that tool. It's like knife. With knife, you can cut fruit and you can kill somebody. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have knife. So you have to decide how you want to use technology. Some use it and some abuse it. Okay. We have to make sure that it is for larger public good. In the process, some will misuse it. I don't like that. I want to prevent that, but I may not be able to prevent all of that. So some bad comes with a lot of goods. So accept that. Then when we talk about development, it is not fancy technology that defines development. It is what people get out of it. Defines development. Have you improved health? Have you improved comfort? Have you improved education? Have you improved people's participation? Have you increased their happiness? That's what defines development. And not that I got, 50 zillion computers and I got IoT and I got satellite. Okay, that's not defines development. I'll give you one simple example. When Prime Minister Modi took a plane and landed up in a Sabarmati river in Gujarat during last election, all media guys started talking about development, Modi's development. I said, wait a minute. What a stupid way to look at it. You got somebody's plane from abroad. You're using it and landing in the river. Is that development? Come on, give me a break. You think I'm that stupid? But people love it. People thought that was development. Then who am I? I'm just one view. 99 others maybe thought that this was a great development. Clap it. So that also happens. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nikhil, can we have you unmute? Nikhil.
Nikhil is a youngster from US only, Sam, and he belongs to Jodhpur. And he did a wonderful job during this pandemic. We had an initiative called Oxygen on Wheels with this young boy's effort and initiative. I'm really impressed.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Good evening, sir. My question is quite broad, but I was wondering, how can the youth like myself participate in redesigning the world?
Thank you very much, Nikhil. for asking this question. And all we can do is to begin new conversation. So if you can bring 500 young people on Clubhouse or on Zoom to have a conversation on redesign the world, then you have your own conversation. You don't need me.
Yes.
I can be there in the beginning if you want. I don't have to be there. You read the book and you say, hey, this is what I agree with, this is what I don't agree with. Basically, you need to create groundswell to really demand change. And you are in a position to do that as a young person. Change has to come from people like you. Okay, when I say bottom up, you are part of a bottom up. Okay, so
Yes.
help us, help me, help the idea, and you don't have to agree with me on everything.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
If we disagree, I'm fine. I'm okay with it. That doesn't mean, you know, you are bad and I'm good or whatever.
Yeah. Disagreement is not disrespect.
Absolutely. We may disagree on ideas. I may not like your idea. That doesn't mean I don't like you.
Yes.
Let's distinguish these two things. Okay. I will always love you and like you. And I'll probably like you more if you disagree with me more, because I would say, maybe he has a path that I will learn something from. Okay.
Quite right.
So in India, we find that people have very fragile self-esteem. Everybody is ready to be hurt. You don't say hello to me and you say hello to Dheeraj Saab. I feel bad and I won't talk to you for 3 days.
Quite right.
Because my self-esteem is very fragile. People say, sir, I've been humiliated. And I tell them, nobody can humiliate you except yourself. Only you can humiliate yourself. Okay. And because we have low self-esteem, fragile self-esteem, we can't form a team. And all modern work requires teamwork. And in some team, Divyansh Lalwani may have more to, contribute than I have. Just because he's a young man doesn't mean anything. He may have a great idea. So I got to respect him and not assume that because I'm 79, I know everything. Another thing people don't understand is there's a difference between criticizing your idea and criticizing you. These are two separate things.
Right.
If you understand some of these basic things, life would be very simple and pleasant, and you'll be able to sleep at night comfortably, and you won't have heartburns.
Yeah, Jashuji, we have Mr. Praveen Mehta from Dubai and Rajesh Chaplot from Uganda waiting. So if Sam, you permit me a few more minutes.
I'm fine. I'm delighted that you guys have taken so much time. I'm honored.
No, it's a pleasure. And there are a lot of people, and as Yashi has mentioned, we will surely organize a separate session again with a separate group of people. So Praveen Mehta ji, if you can unmute yourself, please.
He has.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, first of all, Rajasthan Foundation, Jashim Ram, and Sam. It's always a pleasure to hear you, and we always learn. Quickly coming to my observation and a question. As we are seeing the world going forward, the birth rate is reducing. People don't like marriage anymore, and kids, of course, second chance. So we'll see world having an aged population 20, 30 years going forward. There are going to be more seniors in the society. So what role do you see for the seniors in the society when we are saying today that they are already obsolete? So how do they align themselves in this new world, redesigned world?
Well, first of all, I must say that people like Divyansh and Nikhil and others, young people, they will live to be 150. Guaranteed. If you have money, they won't let you die. Okay. Look at me. I'm 79 years old. I had 2 quadruple bypasses. I have 6 stents. I had cancer. I'm doing great. I feel like a 30-year-old guy. So the definition of old is changing. Okay. I have to keep busy. I have to enjoy life. I have to explore people. I have to meet. I have to learn. So it is up to me to make my life boring by retiring and, going in some retired home and having a, gin and tonic, looking at the ocean. That's one option I have. Another is to keep doing what I do. So I think just because we are getting old doesn't mean we are getting obsolete.
Okay.
Just because my children don't have to listen to me doesn't mean I have nothing to do in life. Okay.
Lovely.
I have so much to explore in this world. My God, I could be busy for another 2 generations or 2 lifetimes.
So
I gave this example yesterday.
our last question from Rajesh Chaplotji from Uganda.
Yeah, just before you give him, just let me have a minute. 3 days ago, I read an article about life 3 miles below ocean. And I all of a sudden realized that I don't know anything about it. And this scientist who wrote this says, look, she went down there and she saw fireworks. It was like July 4th celebration. All the fishes had only light to communicate because it is so dark underneath. The only way they can communicate is through emitting light. So look at the nature. Nature created certain kind of fluorescence or whatever it was in all these marine life. And I started reading it and I realized, my God, I'm 79 years old and I never knew this. There is so much to learn in this world.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Rajeshji, can we have you?
Yes, yes. Greetings from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, to all of you. So my question to Dr. Sam, 25 to 30 years before, we used to talk about going global, and we were very busy in shifting our manufacturing bases to countries where cost of operation was low. But today, many of the world leaders are raising slogans like America talks, America first, India talks, make in India, Brexit for UK, and our Uganda says, buy Uganda, build Uganda, and such others. Is it a reversal of globalization?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think it is reversal of globalization. What we are saying is the earlier madness and rush to globalization was based on maximizing profits. Now we are saying maximizing profit is not the way to globalize. Maximizing well-being of our people is the parameter. So if by going global, our people can benefit, we should globalize. So you have to buy chips from abroad, global market, you buy that, because that you can't make yourself. So blind rush to globalization based on maximizing profit, mainly by American industry, created China. Because American industry did not want to fight unions. So they said all the labor, ship it someplace, and we'll just make money. All of a sudden they realize that it doesn't work that way. We got to worry about our people here also because they need money to buy something. Okay, if we don't produce here, they have no money to buy. So the globalization of the past only focused on maximizing profits of the corporations. Globalization of the future will depend on maximizing well-being of the people in every country. It's that simple to me.
Yes. Thank you. I think it was well understood.
Lovely. Lovely.
Lovely. Jashriji, on your behalf, I want to make a point that so many youngsters, and thanks to you, who are waiting and they may have brilliant of questions in their mind. So may I request Sam, what is your message to the youngsters? I mean, how should they equip themselves for the new world?
I don't have advice. Who am I to advise them? But I would say, based on my journey, I can share my experiences. If you think it is advice, fine. If you think it is not advice, that's also fine. I focus my entire young life in building a good self. That's all I did. I built a self that was comfortable, honest, ethical, disciplined, creative, self that respected other people, and self that focused on sacrifice. Sacrifice for my family, sacrifice for my fellow classmate. And I took Gandhian values seriously. I'm one of those who can publicly say that I have never lied in my life. No need to lie. Oh, who do you lie to? What do you lie for?
Correct.
Okay. I feel I have never taken part in violence at all in my life, of any kind. Never hit somebody, except little when we are little, you just slap here and there. That's a different issue. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Focus on building a good self. Self that respect everybody. I had a friend who died, very close friend of mine, psychiatrist. And he used to say, Satu, he used to call me Satu. He said, Satu, and I miss him a lot. He said, what I like about you is your ability to forgive. He said, I don't understand how you do it. He said, I've never seen you with jealousy, competitiveness, nothing. And he was a very close friend of mine, very big psychiatrist. He said, when I die, if I knew that my children and my wife are in your hand, I'll be very comfortable. That's the kind of compliment my personal friend gave me. And he was very much part of my life in molding my life. He taught me a lot about self-esteem. I didn't know anything about self-esteem. I had no idea that there is a thing called self-esteem, which you have to worry about and all that. He taught me that. Okay. So you learn in the process when you listen to people. Okay. So my advice to all young people is build good self. Everything else will fall in place.
Okay.
I can't help admiring you even more than I've admired you before, Sam. And we can't thank Dheeraj and Rajasthan Foundation enough to host such a lovely session. We are empowered. We are enlightened by your talk, by your advice. And I think you've helped us become more broad-minded from a narrow vision. You are encouraging us to become truly global citizens. You've also helped us to take action and understand the importance of a sustainable world, which we must aspire and work hard on. Parting lines from Dheeraj Shrivastava ji.
But Jayashree, I will bother you.
Sure.
Yes.
I need your help in reaching out to other global audience. And we have to build young people itself. That's all. Education is irrelevant.
Absolutely, Sam. Okay. I'm going to endorse it, ditto, and it will give me an opportunity to shape my
analytical self. Yeah, when people talk about AI and all, I said, look, you need to build analytical self.
Correct.
That looks at graph charts and decides. Okay, that's need to be creative.
Critical thinking. Lifelong learners.
Different viewpoint.
Yeah.
And that's all you need.
And one more thing, Sam, which I would like to apprise you about Jayashree Periwal ji, that in a span of 15 years, just 15 years, her journey from one student from her garage rose to 8,000 guys, which is exemplary, and full marks to her hard work, sincerity, perseverance. She has been awarded as the most influential educationist in India by Asia One. Great. And her school is one of the most influential educational board. And she's doing a great job as far as education is concerned in Rajasthan.
Great.
I must also tell you that she has also been awarded as the best woman entrepreneur in India.
Wow,
Today,
congratulations.
she stands tall with firm convictions, boundless ideas, and a very, very positive attitude. She
Great.
was the only delegate who was chosen from Rajasthan to meet with the high power White House delegation to foster Indo-US relations.
Great.
So we are really proud to have her amongst us. And I'm very proud of my personal relationship with her. And of course, it
One
was
of
a
my
pleasure
best
and a charm.
friends, Sam.
Thank you.
Dheeraj is one of my very, very dear friend who believed in me when I was just struggling to be an educator. He put both his kids under my tutelage, and I will always remember this and cherish this. And I'm going to take your number, Sam, from Dheeraj, and we'll be connected and we'll take whole momentum forward.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice.
So very, very hearty thanks, Sam, for sparing your time. And I also take this opportunity to thank all the my esteemed guests from various parts of the world who have taken time out to listen to Sam, and some of them have been able to share their views, to give some suggestions, questions, and a very powerful young battery followed by Jayashree Periwal's team spread across the state and outside from international fora. A very warm thanks to all of you, and we look forward to an opportunity to have another session with Sam Pitroda ji very soon. My vote of thanks will be incomplete without a word for Mr. Romit Purohit, a doctor in Dubai whose heart is totally, out for others. I have never seen him saying no to anything. You just mention anything and next minute you get a reply.
I would
It is
agree.
phenomenal. It is phenomenal. So we are very, very, in fact, lucky to have a person like him in our team. He has given a lot of meaningful insights to our organization. And as I see, Rajasthan Foundation is becoming a big family from Rajasthan. It is growing to nation and international level. And I want to see it as a family. Like Jayashree ji sitting here, Romit ji sitting in Dubai, you are sitting in US, somebody joining from Egypt. तो यही परिवार होता है और यही हमारा सोच है, यही कल्पना है, उसी डायरेक्शन में we are working. So looking forward to seeing you and catching up with you again very soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye and good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
And kabhi alvida na kehna.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jayashree, and thanks, Romit.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.